Celia, question for you. Have you seen the rumors that Bluepoint is in the workings of remastering Bloodborne and also potentially working on Bloodborne 2? Have you seen that? And if so, what are your thoughts? I can believe the Bluepoint working on Bloodborne 2 or Bloodborne remaster. I can believe that. I don't personally think Bloodborne needs a remaster, but that is something very believable to me. Bluepoint working on a Bloodborne 2 is extremely far-fetched, and I think foolish to even think about, given the fact that Bluepoint has never, ever, 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 ever done a independent project. It's always been remakes, remasters, stuff like that. And I understand that. How would Bloodborne 2 work? It depends on what ending they want to make canon from the original Bloodborne. If they make it so that the hunter letting Gehrman awaken them is the canon ending, then it's very easy just to do another cycle, kind of like what Dark Souls does, where it's just a cycle of reawakening the beast scourge and stuff. If it goes into either of the other routes, like with the old hunter taking Gehrman's place, that could work as well, because the cycle is still there. The only place where it would be, like, odd would be if they went the route of you becoming the next moon presence. But even then, none of the endings really stopped the cycle. I suppose I would like that third ending the most, just because I would like to see what our little squid baby at the end of Bloodborne ends up growing into and potentially being able to either fight or befriend it. Plus, they have the whole concept of, like, the nightmare realms and shit like that they can play around with. So it's not like they don't have the wiggle room to work with in the nightmare realms itself. And they have the randomized dungeons and stuff. Like, there's a lot of open-endedness put into Bloodborne's design from a conceptual standpoint. Theoretically, every hunter's or every person's, like, brain can be opened up to a nightmare realm if they're enlightened enough. So, options abound. Me personally, I think they would go about it with a route of maybe not keeping it too Yharnam, maybe doing kind of like what Dark Souls does, where you have Drangleic, Lothric, and Orlando, like all of those places, like undergoing the same events. So they could potentially do like a Cainhurst style Bloodborne, which I think would be a really cool route to go. Have it be Cainhurst style. But even if they just wanted to do like more of the Hunter's Nightmares type things, there's room for that. The glory of Bloodborne is that there's so much open-endedness. I think the remaster is almost guaranteed. There's a reason why they didn't give Bloodborne a next generation update, even though it was and still is one of the most popular games to be on the PS4. There's a reason they didn't do that. It's because they want to cash it in whenever the remaster comes out. That's easy. That's understandable. I get it. But people saying that Bluepoint is going to be working on Bloodborne 2, one, like you said, Bluepoint doesn't do sequels or hasn't as of yet that I know of. And two, it just seems blatantly disrespectful to FromSoftware. I understand Sony owns the IP and they can do whatever they want with it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe FromSoftware isn't willing to work on a sequel, which I don't know why that would be the case. But Motherfucker! My first death and it's to a hole! Gravity, you bitch! I'm fairly certain Miyazaki has also said that he would be willing to work on a Bloodborne 2 if ever proposed to from Sony. It just won't do. We can't be ugly. My biggest concern with a Bloodborne style remake or remaster or whatever they would end up doing with Bloodborne would be if for some reason, like, so a lot of people have issues with Bluepoint's remake of Demon's Souls, not just because it was an exclusive, although the exclusivity of it does tickle a few feathers, but the fact that the art style and the tone of the game seems to have shifted from what was originally in Demon's Souls. They brightened it up. They added a more vibrant color palette to the game. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people wanted more of the dark, brooding, murky, monotone type color palette with the game. And I'm concerned that they would potentially do something similar with Bloodborne and ruin, like, the chief aesthetic that made Bloodborne Bloodborne. I don't think they would, but I'm not sure. Because personally, I like Demon's Souls remake. I've watched enough gameplay of Demon's Souls, like the original, that the aesthetic for that game just didn't do it for me. But Bloodborne being my favorite game, like, ever made, I would take it a little bit personal if Bluepoint ended up altering the art direction and fucking it up one way or the other. Honestly, the only thing Bloodborne needs to be even more perfect than what it already is settling out the frame rate issues. For one of the first games to gain, like, big popularity on the PS4, it was one of the few games that actually pushed the PS4 software, like, to the limits. Either that or it was just poorly optimized, which either one could be the case. FromSoftware's never been amazing with their optimizations, but it honestly just needs a up-res, potentially, to 1080. It needs a frame rate cap of 60 instead of 30. And that's really it. That's what I was saying. I don't think Bloodborne really needs a remaster or a remake. And if it does come out, yes, I'll buy it because it's my favorite game of all time and I want to see what they do with it. But I also know how... I don't know. I don't feel like it's needed. I really don't. Same thing with Dead Space, honestly. Dead Space is getting a remake, and I think that game still holds up just fine and dandy in present day. Oh, no, it's all weird. I don't like the rumors. I don't like them at all. Yo, idea, okay? Talking about the Bloodborne remaster potentialities and Bluepoint and all that stuff. What if they do go through with a Bloodborne remaster, even though we don't really need it, but it would be nice to have a more stable version of the game. Heyo, Jules, how you doing? But what if Bluepoint dips their toes into custom content and actually does a... What if Bluepoint actually does a, like, a DLC type thing for Bloodborne? A lot of people were wanting Bluepoint to open up that last Archstone in Demon's Souls with their remake, and they didn't. I think I would be okay with that. I think. Not sure, though. But yeah, I would be okay with Bloodborne remaster or whatever Bluepoint, if Bluepoint was working on a higher fidelity version of the game, and then them adding some sort of DLC content to that remaster to kind of sweeten the deal and get Bluepoint going into the independent game direction. They already like to add, like, little, like, tidbit things that are, like, them, like the coins. You see, that's the thing. I don't think they need to do in-game content. I think what they could do is have like make potentially either, so it could go two ways. It could either be a potential like optional dungeon, because Bloodborne has a ton of optional content. They could do another like a mid-game optional thing, like make their own nightmare realm or something like that. Or they could do something with the chalice dungeons to make them stand out a little bit more. I wouldn't mind them like fine-tuning the chalice dungeons. But what do you all think? Are you interested in a Bluepoint remaster of Bloodborne? And do you think Bloodborne should be given to somebody other than FromSoftware for the sequel? If you did get any Bluepoint original content in Bloodborne, what would you want it to be? DLC or a whole new game? Let me know down in the comments below what your opinions are. Just a friendly reminder, we are going to be starting up the Cinders mod this weekend on YouTube live streaming. I don't have specific time set up, but they will be done Friday night and Saturday throughout the day, probably Sunday throughout the day as well. So if you're interested in watching somebody play through the Cinders mod for the first time, that will be happening this weekend right here on the YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe so that you are in the know. Thank you all for listening. Much love. Bye-bye.